I give you the Griswold family Christmas tree.
Deck the halls as you desire.
Hope you're not getting sap all over your sweater, Clark.
White cat nibbling on a wire. Pine tree sap inside your nails.
Sorry.
And great gifts are on sale.
Wouldn't be the Christmas shopping season if the stores were any less hotter than they are.
Chevy Chase. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, December 1st at a theater near you.
It is Christmas time. It's here. It's finally here at ReconCinemation. And I'm so excited. Are you guys pumped? You ready for a big, super special holiday episode?
Cannot wait.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I am John Diner.
I'm David Munchak.
I'm Brent Hutchins.
And this is the podcast that takes a look back at some of our favorite films from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And it's, like I said, a super special episode. We have a very special guest here, a dear, dear friend, and our executive vice president of ReconCine Yuletide festivities. It's Matt Donnelly.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Big fan of the podcast, and thanks for having me up to the studios.
Welcome inside. I know you've been working from abroad and doing all your holiday research and planning, working with David, right? What's going on the around the lot around this holiday time?
Oh man. Well, I got the final Spider Claus animatronics finished. The place is littered with them, and then it's really just like 3 tons of loose jingle balls just everywhere. So wherever you step, you hear the bells. I do this every year, and people love it. People go.
There's
crazy.
also a ton of Christmas lights. I noticed, David. How many lights exactly did you end up putting up this time around?
That's to cover all the square footage of the whole place, and yeah, I mean it's close to 300,000 lights total.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so
Probably as many diamonds that surrounds his office.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, I don't have
Fair.
any diamonds, but so yeah, we're just trying to continue to get in the spirit around here. So yeah, I mean, I love everywhere I go. I hear just jingle bells. I mean, it's pretty dangerous. It's a tripping hazard, but everybody seems to love it.
Insurance bills going up, but
yeah,
everybody's really jolly.
We can cover it. It's all right.
Well, we're also giving out very special gifts to everyone who comes on the lot this holiday season, and it's a particular book written by our dear friend Matt Donnelly. Matt, you want to tell us about this book that it's available now?
Yes, I'd love to. So as you know, I'm a huge fan of Christmas stories, holiday stories, Christmas movies. I get a kick out of watching Lifetime holiday movies and the Hallmark Channel movies. I mean, you just can't go wrong with Christmas movies. But of course, when you have the big ones, the big names, the big movies like It's a Wonderful Life, A Christmas Story, and of course Christmas Vacation. Those are just the top. You can't beat those. So I set out actually as a writer. I wanted to work on something, a holiday story. And I wrote a book called Naughty Week. And Naughty Week is that time between Christmas and New Year's when Santa goes on vacation and kids are allowed to be as naughty as they want to be, allegedly, right? Mm-hmm. And so the book is about these 2 brothers from Silver Spring, Maryland. They discover proof that Santa is in fact on vacation. And after some miscommunication and coincidence, they're actually left on their own for a week. And so they decide that they're going to take full advantage of their freedoms. Santa's on vacation. But then a misfit elf shows up to collect the evidence. And because she's a misfit elf, hijinks ensue. And this was actually originally written as a feature-length screenplay. As I mentioned, I love holiday movies, and you can definitely see there's some influence from Home Alone, A Christmas Story, and even like Christmas Vacation. The screenplay, when I wrote it, it was about 10 years ago. It got some attention, but ultimately never got it set up. So I decided, it was a really fun story, had a lot of heart. So I wanted to do something with it. So I decided to write the book. And I've been, I enjoyed it, writing it so much, I decided I could turn this into a book series. And I followed it up with a sequel set at St. Patrick's Day, and that's called Lucky Day. And I'm actually in the early stages of writing the third book in the series, which will be set at Halloween, and it will be called Spooky Night. So you have Naughty Week, Lucky Day, and Spooky Night. It's all the same characters, and it kind of gets a little bit more and more crazy and wild. And it's a middle grade fiction. So you think like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds would enjoy it. The 3rd, 4th, 5th graders. They're chapter books, so good for young readers. But I've also gotten a lot of good feedback from parents who really enjoyed reading it to their kids. And it is available now. You can get it at your local library. You can get it wherever books are sold. It's available on paperback, hardcover, ebook, and audiobook. Naughty Week is an audiobook, and it's actually, I think, would be really good for bedtime or long trips with kids. And then starting this year, you can actually get the audiobook at hoopla.com, and it's available to anyone with a library card. And that was one of my big goals when I set out to write this. I wanted to get it into libraries.
Yeah.
And so if anyone's interested in learning about, a little bit more about my story and my pandemically stalled television writing career, you could go ahead and head to mattdonnellywrites.com and check it out. And you can, even if you were so inclined, if you wanted to order a signed copy of Naughty Week or Lucky Day, you could get it right there on my website.
That's
awesome.
That's awesome. That's fantastic, dude.
We'll throw that website in the episode description. Make sure people can click on over. That sounds awesome, Matt. I gotta say, we listed those influences of Home Alone and Christmas Story, and then also a little bit of The Purge. It sounds like, so this the brothers just go hog wild when there's no rules. So I love it. I never thought of that combination before. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like I said, I get a lot of some good feedback from the parents and the kids that like it. It's fun for Christmas, and it would be a great Christmas gift because it actually is set the week after Christmas. So it's not like when you receive the Christmas movie, the DVD of the Christmas movie on Christmas Day, and you're like, what am I going to watch this next year? So it's a good Christmas break or winter holiday vacation read for kids of all ages.
Post Christmas read.
That's right.
Nice. Well, that sounds excellent. I cannot wait to read it to my kids.
We're gonna be giving some of those away, but the entry to the location where we're giving it away on the studio lot, you have to give your credit card. So we may just get some extra dough for you.
Sounds awesome.
So where's Die Hard then fall into the influence of your book? Because you did mention several of them, and we all know that Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Exactly. Yes, we've discussed this several times.
This is just to get David. That's all. I just want to get him riled up right before we jump into this one.
So yeah, Matt, where do you rank Die Hard? Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, are those high up there for you?
John, when we spent some time together, before you launched the studios there, we had this conversation pretty much every year, didn't we? Like, what were your top 5? What were your top 10, 20, 50 Christmas movies of all time? And while I knew Die Hard was set at Christmas and I liked the movie, I never really considered it a Christmas movie. But I've come around and I do consider that a Christmas movie. I wouldn't put it in my top 5, I don't think. And I was just thinking about this the other night when I was rewatching Christmas Vacation for the 50th, 100th time. And I was wondering, okay, forget about your top 5, your top 10, because I did have the top 5. Every year I'd have to watch Christmas Vacation. I'd have to watch A Christmas Story, It's a Wonderful Life. And Love Actually. I would watch that every year.
Yep.
And I think I threw in, the Charlie Brown Christmas and How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the animated short TV series, TV special. I would count those. But if I had to take one Christmas movie to me away, like on a deserted island, and all I had was a DVD player and a TV and like a solar power and what do you call that? The whatever. If I had power on a deserted island, I would bring one movie. I would bring one Christmas movie, and that would be Christmas Vacation, hands down. That's the movie I would want to see every year if I could only watch one.
The rewatchability of this one ranks pretty high, I'll have to say.
It does. It absolutely does. I watched it, like I said, 2 nights ago, and then they had it on in the back before I came out here, and I just started watching it again.
Yeah.
So, like Matt was saying, back in the old days, pre-Recon Cinema Studios, when Matt and I were working together, we used to have Christmas marathons. So we would screen films in our office from, starting right after the Monday after Thanksgiving, going all the way up to Christmas break, whenever that was. And something was always running. So we would pick whatever has least Christmas related, like scenes set at Christmas, which we've talked about a lot of those movies because there's so many movies that have scenes, set around Christmas and then leading up to the pure Christmas movies. And Matt, David and Brent and I have been going back and forth all month. We covered Lethal Weapon. We covered Better Off Dead, which rank a little further away from the true Christmas spirit, right, guys? You agree?
Yeah. Yep.
And now we're transitioning to pure Christmas. And that's why we're all gathered here for National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Hey, the Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. Take it, Russ. Fa la 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 la.
Ba-dum-bum.
Solid.
Which
Get
actually
excited.
Which actually ties back to way back to episode 2 of our show, when we covered National Lampoon's Vacation.
That's right. But we didn't do European Vacation.
No, we haven't. And I was honestly, like, when making the lineup this year, I was really torn because I wanted to do European Vacation first and then hit Christmas Vacation. I like to go in order. You guys know that. But, and I had something plugged into here and it just didn't feel right. So at the last minute, I was like, who am I kidding? Let's talk about Clark W. Griswold.
Yeah, I think this is a better Christmas movie than The Warriors, which we were originally going to do.
Hey, that's very Christmassy.
It's very Christmassy. So no, it's a great choice. And and the great thing about the vacation movies is they really just kind of exist as their own thing. So it's just because it came out as the third movie made, doesn't matter. Next time we're feeling international, we'll throw European Vacation on.
Absolutely.
Right. And as the Griswold children prove, there is no set timeline or really just person to portray those characters or when each one of those movies really happens.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
The whole timeline of the vacation movies is very bizarre, and there's some theories that are behind that, which we'll go into a little bit later, but about why the kids look different and how that relates with Clark and why, they look different, but he doesn't. And where these, there's some literal, like what years these are happening, way you can sort of tie them together. It doesn't always line up, but I don't know. Let's talk about when we first saw this movie. Matt, why don't you kick it off? When did you first see Christmas Vacation?
I can tell you for 100% certainty that I saw it on December 22nd, 1989.
Wow.
Because as a youngster, I obsessively collected any type of keepsake I could get my hands on that includes movie tickets. And awesome. When I was thinking about, this coming on here and talking to you guys, I knew I had, a couple years ago, my parents sent me a box of stuff that I had saved over the years, and I still have my Christmas Vacation movie stub from December 22nd, 1989. I saw the 3:30 show at Lowe's Theaters, and it cost me $3.50 at that's the White Flint Mall. It doesn't exist anymore in Rockville, Maryland.
Wow. Those ticket prices, I remember those.
That's
were
outrageous.
Whoa, look at that. If only anyone could see that right now. It's an
impressive display of tickets.
It's unbelievable. Like, I was looking at this, but that's I could tell you when I saw Ernest Saves Christmas. There's a whole bunch here. But
wow.
Do you have them in order?
That's awesome.
I don't think they are, because Home Alone was on the page before this one.
Yikes.
And Home Alone was the following year or the year 2 years after. I think
it was the following year, 90.
Yeah, I saw that the day before Thanksgiving. And I saw this one 2 days before Christmas.
That is
awesome.
Amazing. That's incredible that you have all those. I wish I had kept some of mine.
In all the podcasts that have ever been done by ReconCinemation Studios, I don't know that any one of us has been able to pinpoint the exact day that we saw any one of the movies that we've talked about.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's crazy. Well, that's amazing. Brent, how about you? When did you see it? Did you catch it in the theater, or was this a home video?
Definitely caught it in the theater. I can tell you which theater. I cannot tell you which day.
You can't compete with Matt.
I cannot. Hands down, I'm not even going to try. But saw it in the theater with my family. It would have been probably right around the same time, that December time leading up to Christmas. But saw it in the theater, Westwood Mall, which also does not exist anymore. But it was a family outing.
Very nice. Fitting. Very fitting. David, how about you? Catch in the theater?
Probably. I think this might have been one of the few theater movies I would have seen with my whole family back then. Can't quite place it though, but I'm pretty sure that happened. And then it became, and after just seeing it so many times, I don't really remember the first experience. So
it didn't stick with you, but how about later on when you saw it on video? Did it?
Well, yeah, I just had seen it so many times since, and just laughing like an idiot every time. But yeah,
you do.
Indeed. But I don't remember the first time on this. But I'm very confident, because we would often see, like, at Christmas, one movie as a family, I think, for a minute there. So probably General Cinema.
Yeah.
At the Viewmont Mall. Probably.
All right. Well, I only saw one Christmas movie in 1989, and it's the best one. It was called Prancer.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Oh. Is that a horror movie?
Just wanted to note that of all my movie ticket collection, there's no Prancer here.
Oh.
Well, yeah. Prancer.
Have you seen it since, though? No.
Does it hold up?
I don't think so. I don't think it held up then.
Did it ever make our marathon?
No, never. Well, okay. I think also it was one of those that was really hard to find on video, because Prancer's almost like a Family Channel movie that just made it to theaters.
But if there was anyone that could find a movie on home video, John, I think it would be you.
Oh, I don't challenge me. I can get it if I need to get it. No, but keeping the rhythm going, I also saw Christmas Vacation in the theaters. It was same as you guys, probably right around the same time, but I can't remember the exact day, but I saw it at the Cortland Town Center, which had, I think it was like a fourplex, like 4-theater, small movie theater. That's been torn down. Now there's a gigantic AMC theater there that takes up half the parking lot. But I love the old theater, and that was Christmas Vacation was, I think it was towards the end of that movie theater's existence. So I know by the mid 90s, that was gone, but I loved seeing in the theater, and right away, like, it hit home. I was super into that. Then years later, working at Suncoast, that was like one of our top sellers. It like sold like crazy every holiday season, and everybody wanted some Clark Griswold. Who doesn't?
Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun, old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together. This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here. We're gonna press on, and we're gonna have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny fucking Kaye. And when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down that chimney tonight, he's gonna find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
So, all right, we've talked about, obviously, we've already kind of covered it, but this is pretty high up there on all of our Christmas lists, right?
Yeah.
For me, this one goes back and forth between number 1 and number 2. It's always, for me, it's this and A Christmas Story. It used to be Christmas Vacation was my Christmas Eve movie, and then Christmas Story would always be my Christmas Day. I kind of have like flip-flop those the last couple of years. I'm kind of feeling Vacation more. Maybe, just as I'm getting older and a dad, maybe that has something to do with it. But what about you guys? Is it how high does it rank exactly?
It's funny you ask. I actually dusted off my old so like 3 years ago, I put together kind of a top, it's not really top 5, it's more like top 7 list. And this is solidly sitting at number 4.
Number 4.
Wow.
Yes.
What tops it?
Elf,
Mm-hmm.
Die Hard, Gremlins, and then Christmas Vacation.
So
Only because
interesting.
I keep I like to keep it mixed.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
a mixed bag of movies. So
I like it.
Die Hard's there. These are the movies that I require myself to go back and rewatch every year leading up to the actual Christmas day.
Yeah. Interesting. Die Hard and Gremlins. I love it that those are in your top 4.
Yes.
I'm not a huge fan. I don't dislike the movie, but It's a Wonderful Life does not rank up in my I have to watch this. I almost never watch it. I watch it maybe like once every 10 years.
I loved it as a kid and then saw it so many times that it doesn't. I don't go back to it very often.
That was always my Christmas Eve movie as an adult. I think the first time I saw it was in grade school.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it,
In school. Did you watch it in class?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. And for me, like kind of what you were saying about Christmas Vacation is your Christmas Eve movie and Christmas Story is your Christmas Day movie. I always watched It's a Wonderful Life, usually late after dinner, late night, Christmas Eve, and it would just sort of make me feel all warm and fuzzy. I think Christmas Vacation is a great Thanksgiving weekend movie to sort of kick off that season. And I started thinking about, what makes a good Christmas movie in general. And I think it's if you look at the ones that kind of that lead up to Christmas, that end on Christmas Eve, there's a lot of there's similarities there, whether it's Elf or even Christmas Vacation, Gremlins, even Die Hard, even It's a Wonderful Life, they end on Christmas Eve. Right. And the one sort of outlier, I think, is A Christmas Story, where you get the whole third act is on Christmas Day. So that, I think, makes that a great Christmas Day movie to watch.
Yeah.
I was late in joining the Christmas Story club. I kind of avoided that one growing up, mostly because of that and It's a Wonderful Life were just on TV all the time, all those all-day marathons.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's overdoing it. So I kind of pushed away from those. But
I don't remember ever seeing A Christmas Story until after college. And then
that was the same. Yeah.
And then when it started doing the 24-hour TBS run, on Christmas Eve to Christmas Day, I was like, I just always had it on. I feel like I've seen it 7,000 times now, but it's like, I don't remember ever seeing it prior to school.
Huh.
Yeah.
I remember it growing up a lot.
Yeah, I don't remember. Was it played like that?
Not like 24 hours.
24-hour run?
I remember Christmas Story probably through the 90s, it kind of gaining momentum on TBS, that it went from just showing it to like, then it was back to back, and then it was all day. So somewhere by the late 90s, it was going.
Yeah.
David, what about you? Where's Christmas Vacation rank in your Christmas list? Is it up there?
Oh yeah. It's probably top 3, maybe. I don't really know exactly what that would change every year, kind of, if I was to bother doing that, to bother ranking them. But like you guys. But for a long time, Christmas Story was in there. I don't know if I'm so hot on Christmas Story anymore. Maybe it's the same thing.
Too much play.
Maybe too much play. It's getting it gets a little, and it's I don't know, but it's still a fine, excellent film. So everyone's got their thing, right? And there's still great moments to love about it. And anyway, so this is definitely one that probably with Elf, maybe like a Home Alone, to be honest with you. I know it's not exactly
don't forget
Christmas. It's Christmas oriented, but it's not, still a kid.
Don't you dare forget about Home Alone.
Yeah. It's,
I mean, that's one that ends on Christmas Day, right? Isn't the day that
she
the mom gets back?
Spoiler alert. Yeah, she gets home.
Oh,
Christmas
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Now there's a movie that you couldn't do today, just because everyone has cell phones now, right? And so that movie doesn't exist.
Well,
after
Disney Plus.
Talk to Disney Plus.
Yeah, they
made another one.
They just made a new one.
Call Disney Plus.
What happened?
I don't know how they get around that. Actually, now that you
Yes.
say that, it's a perfect point, but I don't know how they get around it.
Out of
Kids
battery.
will
The
be-
cell phones are all out of batteries.
To circle back to Naughty Week, I ended up, it has to be a period piece just so I can avoid the cell phone thing, because it's actually set in 2012, and I can't, at that point, not every kid had an iPad or an iPhone like they do now. And so I had to be you have to be very creative when you're trying to just put kids home alone like that. So I haven't seen the new one, but I know it exists.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how they do it.
And there's like 5 other
kids.
ones too. There's like 4 sequels or something.
Yeah, but those ended a while ago, I feel like. This one, like, literally, I think came out maybe earlier in November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you're correct about that.
So I think my kids have already seen it like 50 times. I'll just have to ask them to see.
How
Is
do you
it
get around that
set
cell
it-
phone?
Is it set at Christmas? Because I think number 3 wasn't Christmas.
I lost track after 2. So honestly.
Yeah, I actually don't think I've seen all the Home Alone sequels. Definitely
don't-
seen the first 2.
If you don't have Mac, you can't go.
Yeah. You
back.
gotta have Mac.
You gotta have Mac.
Right, because the third one had a new kid in it, right?
Yeah,
It was a completely
new kid.
Family.
Yeah.
Well, and just I don't know. You know what? When we do our Home Alone episode, let's circle back about the sequels, and because I thought in this new one, like, doesn't Kevin McAllister like come into play somewhere? I think there's some kind of tie-in, or maybe
In
I'm
this
wrong.
new one,
Yeah.
Buzz is in the movie.
Buzz,
or
the
something.
the brother is in it.
Wow.
I think he plays like a
that's gonna
security
draw
guard.
me in.
Yeah.
I think it's
I
just a throwback. It's not like a selling point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, circling back to Christmas Vacation,
Yeah.
and this movie, there's so much about this movie that I love. There's so much that works that to me, it goes, it gets categorized as a Christmas film, but I think it really goes beyond that. I think it's a great comedy in general.
Yeah, of course. Like this you can watch this any time of year, and you're gonna have a riot. It's just hilarious, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's the character work that's here, and I have heard some people kind of voice complaints about the relatives, the grandparents that or Clark and Ellen's parents, that there's just not enough character development with them, that they're all such great actors, which they are, that you really don't get the full amount that you could from those characters. But I don't know if you need that. I think they're great for the performances that they gave. And there's just so much of, we're going to talk a lot about Chevy Chase and where he is in the 80s, that his comic timing and his physicality are so key to his success, and they're just riding at such a high level in this film.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Kiss my ass. Kiss his ass. Kiss your ass. Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah.
You guys agree with that?
Absolutely. My appreciation for this movie has grown over the years too. Like I think when I first saw it, I was not necessarily like, I liked it a lot, but I was also 11 probably when I saw this. And so I was a little confused about the kids changing, because from like the first Vacation to European Vacation, I had seen both those already, but I had never really put together that the kids were not the same kids. Like I didn't understand that it was a gag. Like Rusty looked similar enough that I probably didn't even recognize it. Whereas this is the first time where I'm like, the first scene when they're in the car driving to go get the Christmas tree, I'm like, hold on a second, that's not Rusty and Audrey. Like what's going on here? I'm very confused. And so a little bit of the humor I completely missed as a younger kid, but as I've gotten older, like when I first saw it, I feel like, okay, maybe I related more with Rusty. And as I've gotten older, now I relate more with Clark. And so
yeah,
my appreciation for it has certainly grown and grown as I've gotten older and older. And now for sure, it's, I think his timing is great. Randy Quaid is, I think, kind of just the secret weapon of this whole thing that really ties it all together. I think he is absolutely hilarious in this.
Absolutely. And he wasn't even in. So just to rewind the backstory for where this script even came from. This is written by John Hughes and was based on a short story that he had written called Christmas 59, which was sort of a sequel to Vacation 58, which we talked in depth about in our National Lampoon's Vacation episode, which you can listen to in the archives at www.ReconCinemation.com. And we talked a lot about Hughes and his background and the National Lampoon magazine and where a lot of these short stories were kind of debuted. But that got, John Hughes his start. And the story for Christmas 59 is, there's certain parts that are very similar to the movie. You can see where the sort of the roots came from, but they also had, like, there's other characters and there's like I think a Chinese kid who's like staying with the family and who just causes like chaos and havoc, and there's sort of a huge wild ending in a different way than the ending for this movie turns out, with the SWAT team and everything. It's very chaotic, but I think John Hughes, a lot of the comedians from the 70s and 80s seem to like that SWAT team kind of ending that we see quite a bit. But and the relationship with all the grandparents was different. They, like, the first time you see them, they're literally like racing each other down the street to get to the house, like that kind of level of competition. So some of those notes translated and some of them didn't. But the franchise was clearly a hit after the first film, but you've seen how it changes with the Harold Ramis kind of stepping away and some of the other, Maddie Simmons stepping away. Now it's transitioned to pretty much a Chevy Chase vehicle. After the success of the first film, they went right into European Vacation, which is a funny movie. How do you guys feel about European Vacation? I think it's funny. I don't think it's as brilliant as the first and the third movies are.
I remember liking European Vacation. I've only seen it a handful of times, honestly, but every time enjoying it, because it is just sort of just another misadventure in strange European locations, exotic European places. But I don't know, like it's pretty good, I think. Like,
it's fun. It's funny. I mean, there's great bits in it. Eric Idle's really funny. Amy Heckerling is a great director, which we've talked about her several times.
Right.
It's just something about the movie, to me, like, doesn't feel as organic as the other films did.
Yeah. I don't know how it holds up because I haven't seen it in such a long time, but
Yeah.
it was of the like, that was the first one that I remember seeing. Like, I think I saw Vacation first, but as a really young kid, not really understanding what was going on, just kind of, it was on and I was there. But European Vacation was the one that first really introduced like the whole Griswold family situation to me. And then I went back and rewatched Vacation, and it's obviously, I think, in my opinion, superior to European, but I still had quite an affinity for European Vacation because it was kind of the first one that I remember seeing and liking and kind of turning me on to the whole thing.
Well, that came out in 85, so it's natural that would have been one. I think a lot of people our age, that was probably the first one that they saw, because they would have to wait for Vacation on video or whatever. But Matt, what about you? Are you a European Vacation guy?
I loved the first one, and we had it taped off of TV, so it was, edited for television, so I could watch it. I was allowed to watch it. I hadn't seen European Vacation, maybe not until after I saw Christmas Vacation, to be honest, or it was right around that time, and I just didn't think it just didn't speak to me. And maybe it's because I was young and I didn't understand like where they were going or like why, or like I didn't connect with it in any way like I did with the first one, the road tripping. But in my 20s, maybe I think I gave it another look and enjoyed it more. But it's not a movie I would own in a collection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's almost exactly my experience with it too. That I saw it on, I think Comedy Central used to run it quite a bit during the 90s. So I saw it there. I didn't catch it in the 80s. I definitely saw Vacation first. That was my very first Laserdisc. I bought that, or I didn't. My dad bought it with the Laserdisc. So it had to have a movie. If you're going to buy the player, got to get a movie. So why not Christmas Vacation? So that was the first one I saw. Then loved Christmas. And then European, same thing. I didn't really gravitate to it. I watched it again recently and enjoyed it. It was funny, but not quite to the level of the other ones. So, but you can feel the change of, they've really stepped away from the kind of the raunchiness of definitely the first film, a little bit of the second one. And then, here it's much more of a family film in multiple ways that, you have your one kind of, I guess, risque scene with the woman at the counter in the department store, but that's really it. Like, you don't see, there's no breasts like there are in the other films. You don't see Beverly D'Angelo, naked. So it's a little more PG than the other ones, which I don't think is a bad thing for this storyline.
No.
Yeah, you don't need the raunchy humor for this. It's I don't know. This works perfectly for what it's trying to be. I mean, who for anyone who had family at Christmas time, I mean, there's something that resonates, I would think, in this movie for you. There's something there, if not almost identical, adventures.
There's so many characters to identify with that. And like Brent, like you were saying, as we get older with the movie, you can see it from the other perspective. So by the time we retire, we're going to look at it from the grandparents' side of it.
I'm definitely the old guy smoking the cigar, blowing up, lighting the tree on fire.
Uncle Lewis, you're Uncle Lewis.
Yes.
I don't see you as an Uncle Lewis type.
I just want that carefree life.
Hey, Grizz, me and Bethany figured out the perfect gift for you.
Oh, Uncle Lewis, you didn't have to buy me anything.
Damn it, Bethany, he guessed it.
Yeah, so Chevy Chase, let's talk about him. As he's kind of, his career path was always interesting to me, that when he left Saturday Night Live, it always seemed like he was being set up to be a major star. That was why he left. He was going to have his own show. He started doing movies, but none of them, like, they may have been hits. Foul Play is a good movie, but then there's a lot of misses in there. And even Caddyshack, which wasn't a hit at the time, is an ensemble piece. It's not till 83 that he really gets like his own vehicle. And then after that, it's kind of up and down. Like you've got Fletch, which is another, lead role for him, but I don't know. Fletch doesn't. I've watched it so many times, and I don't love Fletch. Like there's,
I've never really been a fan of the Fletch movies.
It feels like it should be a
really
lot
hit.
funnier than it is. It just isn't for some reason.
Yeah, Fletch is kind of a stinker.
Yeah. And then you got European Vacation, which we spoke about. Then Spies Like Us, which I loved as a kid. Loved it. And then another movie I watched recently, and I was like, wow, like this is not.
Don't tell me this, John. Don't shatter. Don't shatter.
When was the last time you watched it?
In high school, for sure. Yeah. Working at Video Impact. That's got to be it.
It's kind of the same thing repeating with Chevy, that in a lot of his films are just. I have so many friends that love Spies Like Us or think that they love it. You remember loving it, but watching it now, it just doesn't work the same. Which is part of what we're talking about with the whole podcast, is how these movies, your perspective sort of changes on them.
Yeah, for sure.
Three Amigos, I think that one still works, but 87, 88, Funny Farm and Caddyshack 2. I'm not a Funny Farm fan either.
I wasn't a Funny Farm fan, and then I watched it this is still a while ago, but maybe 10 years ago, and I had not laughed that hard in a long time.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. And then I watched it 5 years ago, and it was like crickets. I was like, oh, this is like one of those things where you have to completely purge it from your mind and see it fresh one time, and it's going to hit. And then if you go back, it's, once you know all the gags, it's like it just doesn't hold up. It didn't for me, at least.
Yeah.
Sadly.
So, and then Fletch Lives, which I loved at the time. Haven't seen it since it came out in 89. But I remember that being funnier. Like there's more like comedy gags he's doing in that one than in the first one. So I think he was changing course a little bit.
Yeah, I never really connected with either of the Fletch movies.
So out of all those, though, I mean, I would say Three Amigos is probably pretty, I don't know if I'd say it's iconic, but it's pretty a comedy heavyweight of the 80s for sure.
Is it not considered a classic? I feel like it's a classic comedy.
Yeah, I guess, we could put it in that category, sure.
Am I wrong?
Seen it in so long. But I really enjoy Steve Martin and Martin Short. So,
but I think it bridges generations, right? Like I feel like you can talk to younger, not like high school kids, but if you talk to like millennials and stuff, most of them have heard of Three Amigos. And
I don't know if it speaks.
Do people
to,
talk
like,
about Three Amigos?
I don't think they do.
It still comes up. I feel like
you talk to a lot of kids about.
I mean, I work in cartoons, man. So like like maybe
the oldest millennial's like 40, by the way.
Well, true.
That's the oldest.
Listen, our audience knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Three Amigos for me was one of the big ones that I watched in high school and college over and over and over again. But just thinking about it now, I feel like I wouldn't call that a Chevy Chase movie. I mean, yeah, he's in it, but he didn't feel like he was the star of that. He felt like a little third wheel-ish.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I did always see it as more of a Steve Martin movie with Martin Short like right behind him, and then Chevy Chase.
Yeah, well, I think I don't know. I think Steve Martin was a bigger draw when it came out, right? Like he was a bigger name. Like,
well, I think he had more hits under his belt at that time.
Yeah,
and probably Martin Short might have too. If Interspace,
he was popular at the time for sure. Like during that time, Martin Short was, in a lot, and had a lot of name recognition for sure.
But that's the thing with Chevy, is that a lot of these are not hits, or the ones that are as part of a team, that it's not him. Only Vacation is like the enduring a hit for him. So he's finally, coming back to that here with Christmas Vacation, and I think he knocks it out of the park. He hits like on all cylinders. Everything is sort of working for him in this movie. Everything that he does well, he's doing it at his best in this film. And this was like the last one, I think, for till maybe what, Community.
You throw a lot of hate towards Vegas Vacation, but I love that movie.
I literally just watched it and I laughed like 3 times.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. 3 really good laughs.
I mean, this is definitely by far my favorite of the vacation movies.
Yeah. I like this way more than this second one, and the first one's good and all, but this is it.
They're different to me, though. They're like, the first one feels like a summer road trip movie, and this one I'm going to watch at Christmas time, so I can watch both movies every year.
I don't. I watch this movie every year, and then maybe Vacation once every 5-10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think in my household, I've become Clark Griswold now, so I just identify with him so much.
I agree with that. I mean, how many? That's I think what resonates most with any of the vacation movies for me at this point is that how many times do you try to make plans or give your family like some kind of like really awesome experience and it just blows up in your face? Yeah. I feel like every time I try and do something like that, like it absolutely is, you know, what can go wrong will go wrong. It's absolutely, you know, Murphy's Law for me. So.
Well, and there's so much about that character that is so relatable. And I think that's honestly what works so well about this movie in a different way than the first film is that there is so much to that, you know, viewers can relate to, whether it's, for me, it's that moment where the doorbell rings and the grandparents have all arrived, and it's the sound effect as it gets deeper and deeper, and then that slow push in is like doom has arrived.
Folks, Merry Christmas.
Look at how big you got it, baby.
Merry Christmas. Oh, Mom.
Knock on the door.
You promised. You promised. You promised.
You know, they took a pint of fluid out of my lower back.
You see this mole? This mole on my neck? You think it's changing color?
No. Well, you keep touching it, it's getting redder.
I got hemorrhoids. Can you believe that?
Oh, mother.
Isn't that terrible?
You're not getting the garage space.
You did to my automobile. I'm doing the parking. Russ, you want to help me?
Mom, they're not sleeping in my room. I want to go crazy. So there, sweetheart, your grandma has got a real painful burr on my heel. And if you rub it for me, I'll give you a whole quarter.
Okay? A quarter.
And I'll give Audrey a quarter too, Audrey.
I'm going to park my car in the garage.
That one gets me. Like, I remember that as more as a kid than now, but just like, oh my God, the stampede of relatives is here. Like, I have to do this now.
Yeah,
and they nail it. I mean, they, from the point where they come in and everybody's happy to see each other and there's kisses and hugs, to going directly to the mole on the neck.
Yep.
And the hemorrhoids. It's hysterical. The whole sequence, from like the doorbells ringing to the call of doom there, and then them coming in, it feels so real.
Yeah, and there's so much throughout the entire movie. You can watch the actors in the background, what they're doing, and all the little mannerisms that they're doing, and all the little, you know, interplay that they have with each other. It's really quite brilliant. And that's part of what makes these characters feel so real. I mean, how many times with like grandparents when they come over, like, I don't know, at least with mine, it's that exactly what you said, Matt. Like, that's how it goes. Like, you have this quick catch up that morphs into what's wrong, like within 60 seconds.
And that Doris Roberts kissing Johnny Galecki, you could feel the perfume just falling onto his skin, you know.
And him pulling away, and what did Diane Ladd offers to give him a quarter to like bring in all the luggage and everything.
Yeah,
great, a quarter, awesome. But Randy Quaid's character is, I mean, one of the best things about this movie too. And honestly, when you look back at like the merchandising, a lot of it's centered around him. And his character was not in Christmas 59, was not in the short story, and he wasn't in Christmas or European Vacation. I think maybe that was an element that was missing, that they were like, well, that was kind of a hit, so let's bring that guy back. And he's just on fire in this movie.
Yeah, I borrowed it off a buddy of mine. He took my house, I took the RV. It's a good-looking vehicle, ain't it?
Yeah, it's so nice parked in the driveway.
Yeah, it sure does. But don't you go falling in love with it now, because we're taking it with us when we leave here next month.
Absolutely.
He gets half the movie. I mean, only half the movie, but dominates. I mean, in every scene that he's in.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing. It's just like, I don't know how many people really have a relative like Eddie, but there's always maybe something like he's such a cartoon that he's unapologetically Eddie, and he's so wacky, and he makes all the other characters normal, like, you know, or just intolerable. So it's like it's a well-written part, so it's just the gags are good, the jokes are funny, like the way he just sees the world is interesting. So.
And his wardrobe, his outfits are fantastic, like that shirt that you can see through, like that's genius. And the shoes that he's wearing, those white shoes, those are the shoes that he gives Clark in the first movie.
Oh, really?
It's just like little things like that. If you pick up on it, it just makes it.
I missed the shoes thing, but yeah.
When they're in the grocery store or the shopping center, they're getting the dog food and everything. If you happen to look at his pants, you just can't look away. It's just they're so tight, and
bulge.
there's oh my god, you're just locked in.
And in that scene too, there's a lot of people who I've talked to who never noticed the whole light bulb gag.
Right. Yeah,
where Eddie's loading the like heavy bags of dog food, and just in the middle of it, Clark just slides in some light bulbs, and then they just get crushed immediately. It's so subtle though, that whole humor, and Chevy Chase used to be so good at that, of you know, just playing those notes, which are not easy, because some of those, like, he doesn't, like, even Clark misses some of that stuff. It just things just happen. But so great. You know, going back to the rest of the family too, like when relatives would come over and stay over at the house, like siblings have to share bedrooms, and that relationship between Rusty and Audrey of having to share the room together. And then you cut to E.G. Marshall, who's like looking up at the poster of the bikini, I forget which model that was in the bikini, and he's just smiling, just laying there.
I always assumed that was Cindy Crawford. Is that not Cindy Crawford on the poster?
It looks like her. I don't know if I'd have to look again, see if that was her or not. This was 89. She was popular by the mid 90s for sure.
Yeah, maybe that wasn't Cindy. I don't know.
Might have just been right before her, but same, similar looking person. So I also love the neighbors. I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Nicholas Guest are just great as the yuppie. It doesn't feel like they would actually be neighbors.
And why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
I don't know, Margot.
No.
Yeah, why they live in that suburb?
Yeah, like they would have a condo in
Miami,
in Chicago or something.
I think Miami, but yeah. You know, that house that they live in is the Murtaugh house.
I know. Yes, they. I've been recently spending quite a bit of time in the area where that was filmed, and they're the Julie Louis-Dreyfus house is the Murtaugh house from the Lethal Weapon films. So you can see in Lethal Weapon, you can see the Griswold house.
That's right.
Goes both ways, my friend.
Sure does. Full circle.
That Warner, I think it's Warner Brothers, right? Warner Brothers.
Yeah, Warner Ranch.
So that same street, because we just did Lethal Weapon. I'm like, oh, yep, they're because you kind of have to shoot it the same way, like the same direction, like curve around.
Yeah, it's really not. It's not a big street. It's called Blondie Street. It's like almost like one long curve with like a street coming off of it. But there's there's only like maybe 12 houses or something there.
Yeah. I've only been there once and drove that, and it's neat.
And literally across from those two houses is the kind of field where the Friends fountain was.
Right.
Oh, is that right?
They're literally like across the street from each other.
That seems out of place.
It does. Yeah. That none of that fits together, but
Hollywood trickery.
Yeah. So John Hughes, though, let's talk about him for a minute. John Hughes is in sort of a transition phase by 89 that he's really starting to move out of the teen dramedy phase and into more of adult kind of stories that I think starting with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which we covered 2 years ago already, back in the archives. So, once that film comes out, and obviously we loved that film, and it works so well, especially that Steve Martin, John Candy combo. I don't know if that just struck a nerve with him that he's got more stories to tell from the more grown-up side of things than just the teenage side. But this is definitely, this and Planes, Trains feel like very, like they're brothers or something.
Right.
So I don't know. And this was maybe, I guess Home Alone is right after this. And that's kind of the end of the real, John Hughes era. He would still produce films after that. And we talked about Dutch here as well, that, they just weren't really working the same way as his stuff in the 80s were. I don't know if, I've talked about it before too, that a lot of directors and writers, I feel like they have a certain amount of great films in them. And then when they reach that point, they either stop or they keep going, and everything just is not nearly as good after that. And Hughes made a few movies and then completely stopped, or at least publicly. But this is still sort of in that last wave of great films.
Yeah, because what would he have right after this? Didn't he have?
Well, Home Alone.
Home Alone,
then like Curly Sue and Dutch.
Yeah.
And I'm probably forgetting something, but
Uncle Buck and
was Uncle Buck after this? Yeah.
Uncle Buck was 89. He directed that one as well.
Yeah.
And then She's Having a Baby, but I don't think that one ever really caught fire.
I barely remember that. I haven't seen that in so long. But originally they were going to have Chris Columbus was going to direct this film, and apparently rehearsed and met with Chevy Chase a few times. I think began shooting some like establishing shots, and did not get along with Chevy, and was I don't know if he left the project. I don't know if he quit or what happened, but sort of as a make good, he got the opportunity to direct Home Alone. So I think that worked out for him.
Yeah.
And the director who took over is Jeremiah Chechik, who's had a really kind of all over the place kind of career. This is his first feature. He was a music video and a commercial director before this. And then afterwards does, I think, Tall Tale, and he did Benny and June and a couple of other films and some TV stuff. But his career it doesn't seem like there's one sort of through line for him. It's just kind of all over the map. But was always surprising just seeing his name. Like, God, it doesn't feel, it feels like somebody else should have directed this movie, but I think he did a great job, or he let Chevy sort of run the show. Maybe that's what was going on.
I think yeah, it seems like he just, he can keep this story together, and I mean, and then I think he just let the talent do their thing.
I mean, I have to imagine this is a hard movie to walk into when, I mean, Chevy Chase is a pretty big deal at the time. So even though he hasn't had that super monster hit that we were talking about, like he's still,
he's
powerful.
And he's kind of a jerk, or he's kind of a heavy guy. He throws his weight around, and he's and not everybody gets along with him, right? So.
Yeah, he was. I mean, it's famous. It's out there that he's got a very particular personality, and if he doesn't, if he is not getting along with you, it's going to be real hard. It's going to be really hard to make that project with him, and you can hear story after story of it, that as great as he is, he's not always easy to get along with. If you're not in his like inner circle, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And we saw that years later on Community too, that he just was sort of miserable the entire time on that show, and then exits way before the show is over. So yeah, I don't know, somehow it worked between the two of them. And honestly, like you said, it's sort of an actor's movie. That this is not a complicated movie, cinematic graphically speaking. There's the shots are not that. There's nothing really that crazy. It's just sort of like light it, point the camera, and let's let the actors go.
Yeah, I mean, it's like funny little scenes, and then like lots of little gags, and it was just like getting all the little gags, and stuff like that. So it's all from the comfort of the Warner's backlot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a cozy place.
Yeah.
But God, there's so many great actors. David, we're going to talk about your favorite segment of the show. Who's in this movie?
Let's do it.
Beverly D'Angelo, of course, is back. There's not that many actors returning from the other films. She's the only other actor who appears in every movie with him, right? I don't think anybody else does. Some people show up here and there, but right, she's the only one in all 4 or 5. What if you count the remake or the whatever newer movie?
Sure. Yeah.
Because you get Randy Quaid, right, who's in everything but European.
Right.
And then you get everyone else is new.
Oh, unless you're counting Christmas Vacation 2, and then Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo are not in that, but Randy Quaid is.
That's right. It's Eddie's movie, right?
Yeah, that's right. I guess I kind of forget about that one.
I've never even seen it.
Was that directed?
I actually didn't even know that it existed until researching for this episode.
Yeah, I think that was a direct video.
Yeah, I think it was.
Right, it had to be, right?
Yeah.
Has anybody seen it? Matt, have you seen it?
Is that set at Thanksgiving?
I couldn't tell you.
There's a Thanksgiving Vacation, isn't there?
No, it's on a deserted island.
Yeah, it's on an island.
The story is like he was on basically Survivor, and they leave him behind on this island, and then somehow Audrey ends up there.
I've never even heard about this movie, but I'm convinced there was a Thanksgiving Vacation that was a TV movie. And
that's possible.
And I think that was probably wrong. Maybe I just invented this in my head. I could have sworn I saw it on television and it was a Randy Quaid movie, but maybe I just dreamed it. I can't find anything about it. I'm doing a quick search right now.
Maybe you're dreaming another sequel that you should write.
I could be. Maybe I've already written it for all I know.
So all the grandparents are so great. We talked about E.G. Marshall and Doris Roberts and John Randolph, who is a great actor who was in Prizzy's Honor and Serpico, and Diane Ladd, who, by the way, is only about 8 years older than Chevy Chase. So
Right.
that was like, oh, she's pretty young, but okay. And of course, we get Brian Doyle Murray, who is a familiar face.
Are you the one who was working on that non-nutritive cereal varnish?
Yes, sir.
I've got to give a speech to a trade group. I'd like to mention it. Write up a brief summary and have it to me by the end of the day.
My pleasure.
Layman's terms, none of that inside bullshit jargon that nobody understands.
He was in the first movie as what was he, at one of the campsites that they stayed in. He was the host, but
That's right.
This is the Brian Doyle Murray. This is like classic Brian Doyle Murray. When I think of him, this is what he looks like to me. This and Wayne's World. But you forget that there's a Brian Doyle Murray who looks like he did prior to this, which is very different.
Yeah, the gray hair, mustache, bald. Well, he's always bald, but it's the gray hair and the mustache that's how I identify him. But
yeah,
so when you watch Caddyshack, you're like, oh shit, what the hell?
Yeah,
you're like
totally. It
guy,
seems like a different guy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But he's so great in this as Clark's boss, and another sort of angle that's so identifiable, that the Christmas bonus, that he's counting on that bonus. And those scenes in the office are very, he's talking to Sam McDonald, right? Is that his name? Sam McDonald?
Sam McMurray.
Yeah, McMurray. Sam McMurray, who was awesome in Raising Arizona and a million movies. Those are the sort of those heartwarming sort of moments that he's being real and serious, and you can tell how important this is to him, that he counts on those bonuses. But Brian Doyle Murray is so great as the just jerk boss who doesn't even know Clark's name, and Clark's been there for years.
Right. And
by the way,
does.
that business is like, what they're doing food additives. That's what Clark specializes in.
That's his job now. He's
Yeah.
like a food additive specialist or something, right?
Yeah. And that's got to be a real job.
Well, sure. Someone's got to put
food additives exist. So yeah.
To keep the cereal crunchy. And
yeah.
He's up for food additive specialist of the year, apparently.
Yeah. I think they're chemists.
Of course.
So could Clark have more of a, more just dad job than that, like working for a big corporation and in the office wearing a suit and tie, and like you wouldn't bring him to career day at school, right? Because it's just what
are you gonna say?
It's like a blah job. It's like you might as well be like an accountant or something, but like they it's very hyper specific, and I like that creativity of that. It's just like a nothing job. It's an important job for the industry, I'm sure, but
you get his in the 45-second scene that they cover it. You see that Clark is he kind of likes his job, and he gets excited about talking about the product that he's been working on, and that's endearing, I think. Like this character, for all of his flaws, you're just on his team the whole way through.
Yeah, he's somebody's dad or your own dad kind of thing. If
it's charming to see him excited about what everyone else views as a very mundane, boring job, that he gets excited about it, and he really honestly loves what he does. You don't see that very often.
I think if at the very least, so that he can grease the bottom of the sled, so that he can set the new world record for downhill sledding.
Yeah.
He's got all the tools.
That's one of those scenes that's just sort of, God, you could almost cut that scene out of the movie. It really doesn't almost doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's just, more physical comedy, but that's great nonetheless. That, of course, he's going to spray that on his sled, and
You're right. I think it could definitely be cut out. I think it's distracting. Every time I watch it, I just can't get past how his speed changes with every shot. But at least you get Cousin Eddie doing bingo at the end. which is just he nails, like, that's worth it. It makes the whole thing worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that one
Well,
line.
the Eddie moments. Yeah, the Eddie moments in general. I mean, even when he's explaining how he had to move to a plastic plate in his head versus the metal one.
Yeah, messes up the part in his. It'll mess up the part in his. Yeah, it's just there's just lots of little moments for funny stuff, like, you know, these, like, not every scene is vital to the story, but that's what the it's a little slice of life for this, you know, for this Christmas time story and with family and Christmas shopping. And
they probably felt like they had to put in one bigger comedy gag somewhere, like right where it is, that, you know, the studio probably felt like the audience needed something big to laugh at instead of just all the subtle and smaller jokes, you know, peppered throughout. It's like, oh, let's give them one big one, and then we don't get another one till the big ending. So
yeah,
I love the opening though too. I mean, I love, first of all, the opening animation sequence, which is out of nowhere, but it's great. Like, I would watch.
It's very
that
popular
movie
for the time.
Yeah.
Animated openings
with the Mavis Staples theme song. So this is the only film that does not feature Holiday Road at some point. But this is a great song to open the movie with, and then them getting the Christmas tree. So many things about this entire sequence. Where are they? Why are they? Why have they driven so far away to get a tree?
Right.
And then the whole bit, you know, obviously the car stunt gag is funny. That's pretty on the nose. And apparently that truck that's chasing them is the same truck used by our dear friend Kurt Russell in Overboard.
I heard that.
Yeah. But you know, when they get to the tree, you know, they finally like trek through the snow to the point where the kids are like frostbitten. And then this tree is enormous. It's gigantic. Like the thought of doesn't occur to Clark of how are you going to get it out? How are you going to fit it in the house? Like, none of that. He just does it. And then when they cut to the tree on top of the car and them driving away, you just have to use your imagination of how the hell they got that tree out of there.
Yeah.
Right. Did they dig it with their hands? Like,
well, exactly. It almost doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't.
Well, it doesn't make sense, but it's just it's an amusing sight gag.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense, and that's part of what makes it funny.
Yeah,
sure.
It's silly. Well, there's so much of that. There's so much of that in this movie,
right? And that's what part of what I feel like makes this movie work so well is that it doesn't get to the point where I'm you know, thinking about my suspension of disbelief and I'm like taken out of the movie. Like, none of that really happens for me. So I don't know. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but to me, it just always stays on that side of the line.
Yeah. I think there's a bunch of great little gags in there that kind of all work. They're all absurd, but it's, you know, I think it's kind of just, you know, I've mentioned this before on the podcast. Like, I'm not a huge fan of like the slapstick comedy styles, but a lot of these gags for me, you know, for whatever reason, don't take me out of it. Like, they kind of roll with the punches, and, you know, they all seem to fit the design of the storytelling and what they're doing. So I think they all kind of work. I think, you know, I mean, there's obviously the tree is one, the sled is another, the cat, you know, getting fried, eating the electric cord is another. I mean, they're all over the place.
Yeah, the dog and the squirrel, and yeah. Everything with Uncle Lewis, you know.
The dry turkey, like
yeah. I worry about that every year. Every year when I cook a turkey, I think about this scene of I'm going to cut this thing and it's just going to pop open and be a disaster inside.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that to a turkey.
Of turkey skin. Yeah. How do you do that to
like, were you cooking it for like 4 days like to have it be that dry?
But how do you preserve so the outside looks so delicious?
Right.
Yet you cut into it and the inside looks like something you would see, I don't know, in a crypt somewhere.
It's really
Yeah.
gross. And
You know,
just-
at the heart of the movie, though, Clark he just wants to have a good time. He just wants to do what's right for his family, and have an enjoyable Christmas. But the funny part is, like, he gets in his own way all the time, and sort of stops that. Not stops it from happening, but just makes it a lot harder to do, just by his own expectations is just too much. So he gets desperate to get there, to reach that expectation.
And that's partly for me why, and it's probably part of Chevy, but it's just like Clark really annoys me a lot. Like, I find him really annoying, but like, he's endearing, he has his endearing moments, and he's not always annoying or whatever. But I'm like, Jesus, man, like, take a break. Like,
well, he's just always in his own way.
Yeah.
Like always.
It's a lot. He's a lot to deal with. I find him exhausting.
Yeah, his whole obsession with the lights. You're talking about at the studio a lot here. How many lights, David, that you've been putting up?
Yeah,
it's perfect that we're covering this movie.
It takes a while, but the funny thing is, like, it's the lights that I dig the lights. I dig, like, the effort he puts in. I'm not saying but the way he talks about it all, like, it's just, he just can't let it go. What's great is so many things happen that have nothing to do with his own stuff. Like, it's the relatives that create a lot of chaos and all that. And so it's not just him, which is great. Like, if it was always Clark the whole time, always creating problems, I think it's a lot more annoying. But it's the mixture of, like, all the characters that, he's the star of this movie, but thank God we have everyone else there.
Yeah,
and that's probably why, like, Vacation's just kind of annoying to me, because he's just in command and annoying his whole family. I like Vacation and everything, but it's just like, oh boy, Clark's a lot,
Well,
and
he wants the whole family there. Like, that's his vision of the perfect Christmas, is everybody there.
Yeah,
but along with that come all these problems that he now has to deal with.
Yeah. He's a trooper. He goes, he's gonna make it work. I get it.
The sequence in the attic is another one that I love for a few reasons. I love the fact that he goes up there, and Doris Roberts, I think's right, like sees that the attic stairs are open, meaning someone is probably up there, and she just shuts it. That's it.
Yeah,
without telling anyone. Like, and so he's locked up there, which I don't know. I think in my house, it was the same thing. Like, you couldn't open the stairs for some reason. I don't know if there was some lock on it or what, but
I could never wrap my head around how he couldn't just push that back down. But
well, yeah, we had that same stairs to our attic in my house growing up. And at least my parents, maybe they lied to me, but they had said,
did.
Yeah, probably.
To keep you out of the attic.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. But I don't know. So he obviously can't open it, and then he's stuck up there. Finds the gift that he was going to give Ellen in 1983, which would have been right after the first movie.
Yeah, isn't that a little nod to the first movie?
Yeah,
couple nods.
Yeah, nod to that, and then he finds the old films, which are sort of referencing the short story.
Yeah,
and he dresses up in all those old women's clothing, and then just that moment of, like, him just getting, then they come home and Ellen opens up the attic, and he's sitting on of course he's sitting on the attic door, and just drops down.
And, like, both of them would be seriously hurt. And
he's already fallen through the ceiling.
Yeah,
like, just knock the rest of the ceiling out and climb out.
Yeah, and call it a day. You can fix those panels.
Yeah, you're already gonna have to patch it.
I do like that scene a lot. First of all, the Ray Charles song is the first time I ever heard that song, and it was awesome. I love that song.
Yeah,
this is the soundtrack I needed to have after this movie. But the from the beginning, he tells Russ in the car that we're gonna have a good old fashioned family Christmas, fun family Christmas, and And he keeps saying that we're going to do it. This is going to be the best Christmas ever. And then you get to see through the old film reels that, what he experienced growing up. And you could tell, like, in that moment, this is what he wants. Like, this is what he wants for his family. Sure, you're just seeing the edited films put together and your memories are kind of edited like that. You kind of forget all the bad things that happen or the chaos that might happen. But you kind of, in that moment, understand what's really driving him for this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of heart that makes sense for the character, and they present that. They feed it to you, dribs and drabs. It's nice.
And of course, I love the moment where he's just looking out the kitchen window or the front window with Ellen and sees what Eddie is doing.
What are you looking at?
Oh, the silent majesty of a winter's morn, the clean, cool chill of the holiday air, and an asshole in his bathrobe emptying a chemical toilet into my sewer.
Shitter was full!
Ah, yeah. You checked our shitters, honey?
Clark, please.
Oh, yeah.
Dumping the sewage. So that's like, they're setting that up nice and early, and you have no idea that that's going to pay off at the end of the movie. But like, the shitter was full. That's what you do when it's full. You got to dump it somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's so disgusting because he's dumping it like all over the place. Like, so nasty.
Drinking a beer and smoking a cigar in his short bathrobe.
Yeah.
But it's like Clark, the way Clark is looking at it, he goes back and forth from kind of this wild, over the top sort of goofball character to like this real, like that's like more of a real person that you can identify with. That's what's so great about the Clark Griswold character in this movie in particular. Just circling back one more time to the weird sort of timeline of this franchise.
All right.
One sort of note about this the fact that Rusty and Audrey are different in every movie, that always stuck out to me. It stuck out when I saw A Christmas Vacation in the theaters, that like, oh wait, are these? And then Cousin Eddie's kids are the same, like different ages, like nothing matches up, nothing's consistent movie to movie. And like, are they different sets of kids? Like, did Rusty and Audrey, like, is one of them Russ and the other's Rusty, and one of them like graduated and is out of the house, and these are two different kids? Like, what was happening here? Because
these are all the same questions I had when I first saw this movie too.
Yeah. Like,
and who's older? In this one, it's Audrey is older, isn't it?
Yeah. And in the others, it's Rusty.
It's Rusty.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. But I think part of a theory that I've discovered was that's done, maybe they're making an excuse for it, but they're saying it's done maybe intentionally, that it's to comment on the fact that Clark he has all these grand ideas and these visions and of this great family life, this great holiday, but he can't see the forest for the trees, that he doesn't even realize that his kids are entirely different people right in front of him. He's so focused on like the other things, the bigger things. I don't know. I could see that about his character, obviously not literally, but sort of interesting way to look at that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just an artistic, choice. It's every family at different stages of different aged kids, and they're more an idea than they are like a real family. I don't know. So
yeah, exactly.
It's best not to even think about it.
Yeah, just another absurdity.
Yeah. Well, and that sort of plays into the timeline of like, when do these movies happen in relation to each other? Like this could happen. This could be 1984, could be 85. It doesn't have to be 89. I would say it's probably, because you see some Wally World references in there, it's probably, after the first film.
Right. Yeah, I didn't even, I knew about the Moose eggnog cups, but I never, until this actual viewing to review it, I'm like, oh wait, that's Wally World. I never put it together for some reason. So that was cute.
Yeah.
I
Well,
really wanted in the attic them to throw some Pig in the Poke costumes or just something
Right.
from the other movies. And I guess the gift kind of pays off, but if that was it was for Mother's Day, so I believe the vacation happened after Mother's Day. So you know, I'm not sure, but I think they had an opportunity to do something in the attic and it just didn't, you know, who cares? But it was there.
They were trying to get a lot in that attic scene.
Yeah, they were. But I agree. It would have been nice to see. I mean, I don't think there was anything in there that was referenced to European Vacation. So that could have just happened anywhere.
Right.
In the timeline.
I mean, it could be a world where that was, I don't know. Could it have been like Vacation, Christmas Vacation, then European Vacation, all within sort of like a year and a half period? Could be.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. A lot of traveling.
A lot of chaos for an 18-month period of time. But theoretically, or in theory, I suppose.
We talked about the soundtrack a little bit, but I think the soundtrack for this is perfect. Like there's not, and it's interesting because the score is done by Angelo Badalamenti, who I think is most famous for having done all the David Lynch movies. And it's weird to think like he would immediately after this go right into Twin Peaks.
I can see how these don't relate at all.
I know. It's like, okay, all right, I guess. But hey, this score is good. And so many great songs on the soundtrack. The Ray Charles, Mavis Staples, you know, Mele Kalikimaka is so great. You know, that sort of fantasy, Clark's fantasy sequences are just like hilarious. And seeing that, you know, he sees that vision of the pool that he's going to use his Christmas bonus to buy or build. And his vision of what that would be and just how it morphs into like Eddie invading and taking over that is just another hilarious moment. Oh boy. But I don't know. And one other, you know, thing, a smart business move for this franchise. If you get a chance to be in or write or direct or be a participant in a Christmas movie, that's just a good idea on a business level, because these movies are always popular. Even if they're not great, people are going to watch them over and over and over. Obviously, if they are great, it's even better. But
that's why Netflix every holiday season now releases like 30 new. It's like 30 days of new holiday movies.
Yeah,
it's bananas.
It's a whole business. The Christmas movie is a whole business, and there's so many, you know, the Hallmark and Lifetime movies that people are addicted to those things, and they're terrible movies. They know they're terrible, but they also know people there's an audience for it.
But they're heartwarming and, you know, filled with, you know, I'm with Matt. Like, I know you mentioned it earlier that these are like you kind of love those kind of movies. Like I could sit down and watch any one of those, like Hallmark. I watch all the Netflix ones as they come out each year. Even it's like, do I really need to watch Holiday? No, I don't need to watch Holiday, but I'm gonna, you know, like every single, like I can't help it, man. I love it. Like they're just always so joyful, I guess.
You know what's
even if they're not great, they're still I like that they're trying to bring joy to people's life.
You know what's better than Holiday?
You tell me.
Holiday 2.
Haven't seen that one yet.
I don't know if they've made it, but I'm sure it's going to be great.
Did watch 8-Bit Christmas though, just this last weekend.
I'm going to watch that too. Just haven't done it yet.
Yeah. I'll wait to tell you anything about it until you see it.
No spoilers, please. What about Christmas in the Rockies? Do you watch any of those Christmas in the, you know, those Hallmark movies?
I haven't seen many of the Hallmark ones because I think for a while you had to have the Hallmark channel to see them, and I didn't have access to it.
I think they're all on Hulu, or a bunch of them are on Hulu now.
Yeah, it's a treasure chest.
All right, cool. Well, let's see how the movie did. Let's talk a little box office glory. So Christmas Vacation was filmed in the spring of 1989. They shot in Breckenridge, Colorado for clearly all the exterior scenes and the sledding and the opening sequence, but mostly in Warner Brothers in Burbank. It had a budget of $25 million, which seems huge for a movie like this.
Sure does. Where did all that money that had to go to salaries?
Definitely Chevy. And Beverly D'Angelo, who, by the way, is sort of the unsung hero of the franchise, of Ellen having to deal with Clark and just put up with everything that comes with him and still love him. She's the real hero here.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. I know we didn't spend too much time there, but she's amazing, especially in this movie. I mean, she's gorgeous, and some of the best lines are coming from her about being miserable at Christmas, and we just all have to deal with it. And but also, just totally endeared to Sparky, to Clark, and you're rooting for them to have a great Christmas together. You don't want it to explode, and you don't want to see them breaking up. Obviously, you want them, to be in this together, and they are for the most part.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's something warm and attractive, not just about her physically, but like about her as a person, that she's willing to be so giving for the family and for him that she just puts up with it. And they both get driven to the point of going sort of crazy at times. But the way she plays it is so perfectly done. I mean, it's the best role that I think Beverly D'Angelo, who's had a great career, but this is her shining moment. Okay, so it had a budget of $25 million. It opened December 1st, 1989. It was the only new release that week, but it only landed at number 2. Do you guys know what was still in the number 1 position at that point? Any guesses?
Have we talked about it on this podcast?
It's probably been mentioned, but we have not done an episode about it. Or about anyone in the series that it's in. Back to the Future Part 2 is still at the number 1 spot.
Still got that movie ticket.
There you go. Are you looking at it?
That's awesome.
I also had Fletch Lives. I didn't have Fletch. I was just looking at these. But yeah, I was trying to look at my tickets to see if any of the ones around it had I seen it. But that makes sense. I do remember seeing Back to the Future Part 2 in November.
Yeah. Well, we did an episode on the summer of 1989 because there were so many big movies out there.
I listened to that. That was a good one.
Well, thank you.
I recommend anyone listening now to go back to the archives. So what's that web?
www.ReconCinemation.com.
And make sure you can. That was a really good one. Much appreciated. Batman was that year too, right?
Oh yeah, Batman, Last Crusade, License to Kill, Lethal Weapon 2. Like there's a ton that summer in particular, but the whole year of 89, it's a lot of big movies. And Back to the Future 2 came out. I can't remember the exact release date, but that was a huge movie. Falling at number 3, right behind Christmas Vacation, was Harlem Nights. Harlem Nights with Eddie Murphy and the whole slew of legendary comedians. The Christmas Vacation opened with 11.7 million. It did a total domestic run of 71.8 million, so that's a hit. It ended up as number 15 of 1989, right between War of the Roses and Turner and Hooch. So Chevy, just landed right ahead of our good friend Tom Hanks, who we just covered last month in a slew of episodes.
I'm going to jump in here again, and I'm going to say, if anyone has not listened to the Joe versus the Volcano episode, big props to Brent to just delivering an education in fine cinema. I am on team Joe versus the Volcano. It's a top 10 movie all time.
Thanks, Matt.
Nice.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
Look at that. We're finding all the fans of Joe versus the Volcano are just coming out of the woodwork now.
More people need to watch that movie.
I think
that's I think the biggest takeaway.
I think Mr. Spielberg is going to owe you a check after this quarter.
Just add it to the others.
Yeah. Okay, this is Christmas Vacation ends up number 2 of the franchise, behind the 2015 Vacation and ahead of the 1983 Vacation. So if you count the newer film, Christmas Vacation is number 2. If you don't count it, it's the highest grossing film of the franchise. So
do we count it? Do we?
I don't think we count it.
I don't think so. I mean,
I know it's supposed to be a continuation, right? Because it's Rusty.
Yeah.
Wait, how about the number of money per theater that it made? Does that compare to the 20? Because in 2015, how many theaters? It's like 4,000 theaters.
Right. There's so many more. Yeah.
That's a good point.
So I would say Christmas Vacation tops, but off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm still with the. I don't know that you can count the new one, but it seems weird to not, just because it is a continuation. But
yeah,
and both Chevy and Beverly are, they're in that. It's like, but it's tough. It's a tough one.
The post Vacation franchise, it kind of goes all over the place. It's really inconsistent. At least with the first 3 films, you had John Hughes as that. I wouldn't say he's the singular voice of these movies, because there's multiple people involved here, but he's one of the consistent voices. And then he's gone after this one. I can't remember if he's involved at all with Vegas Vacation. I don't think so. But if anything, it's sort of a credit only. We can do an episode on Vegas Vacation. I just don't think in general that movie has the heart that the first and the third movies have. It feels very 90s. It feels sort of forced to me, that like, okay, we don't really have a great idea, but we're going to go with it. And, oh yeah, we got to get Eddie involved. And it's like trying too hard to get it to work. And the gags just aren't as funny.
I would agree with you for the most part, but I think some of the gags are pretty good. Like I like the kind of off the strip casinos that Eddie takes Chevy to. I think that scene is really, really great. And I like what is it? Papadakis or what, I forget.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I like that whole thing that
with Ethan
Embry's got going on. Like, I think that's all pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, as a whole, it's choppy for sure. Like, it doesn't, I don't know, like I'd have to go back and rewatch European Vacation, but if I were to compare all these against each other, at this point, although I love Vegas Vacation, it's going to be, in the bottom half for sure.
Yeah. And then they've tried television pilots here and there. I think they've tried to reboot it a couple of times. And then the newer film in 2015 with Ed Helms as Rusty I thought it was okay. There's definitely funny parts to it. And it is, according to them, it's a true sequel. Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo do show up. You do see them, as Clark and Ellen. It's just, I kind of don't want to see to me, they are the franchise, and I don't want to see somebody else take it over. I just want to see Clark and Ellen.
Yeah, they should do a new one where they rent buy a Winnebago. Like an old couple driving across the United States in a Winnebago.
Oh God. I don't know if they could do it, but
they could pull it off.
There's a few funny gags, but overall, I don't think, like a lot of the reboots and remakes, it was like, okay, there's a couple of good things, but overall, it's nothing compared to the originals.
Yeah.
And then of course we mentioned Christmas Vacation 2 starring Randy Quaid. That is a total, straight to video movie. Most people don't know that exists, kind of like they don't know A Christmas Story 2 exists. But
yeah, that's true. But there's a lot of people in Christmas Vacation 2. Like, I mean, Eric Idle's back, but Fred Willard, Ed Asner. I mean, there's just like for straight to the bargain bin, there's kind of a bunch of different names there.
What year did that come out?
That came out in 2003.
2003.
It was
okay.
a TV movie.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Huh. Interesting. All those guys were, Ed Asner was in Elf the same year, and Fred Willard was right in the middle of all the Christopher Guest movies.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, maybe, hey, we'll do, if we ever get the Patreon going, maybe we'll do Christmas Vacation 2 on that one.
There we go.
All right. So where does this, against all the vacation movies, where does this rank? I'm guessing this is 1 or 2 for everybody. For me, this would be, I think I'm going to say number 1.
1.
Yeah, I think I already said number 1, but yeah, I'll say it again.
I agree. It's number 1.
Got it. All right. All across the board. There you go.
I would then say Vacation is my second favorite, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and for me, it's close. Like I could ask me tomorrow, and I could flip flop.
Yeah, I don't think I could flip flop, but it's solid number 2.
All right, guys. Well, with all of that being said, I think it's time that we get the interns, we get the 35 millimeter film print out of storage, and open up Cinema 12 down on the studio lot. And I think it's time for us to have a vacation franchise marathon, but mostly we'll stick with the Christmas Vacation.
We'll watch that a few times.
Yeah, we'll just watch that one on repeat.
Yeah,
just like it would have been on TV. Are they running this on TV now?
Like, I don't think I've ever really seen it on TV.
I think it's been on, but they don't run it. I don't think anybody runs it like they did with Christmas Story.
No, not. I mean, Christmas Story's got the market kind of cornered on the repeat viewing run.
Well, didn't they stop doing It's a Wonderful Life too? I heard that they stopped. I don't know. I don't watch regular TV anymore. So,
well, I feel like there are several channels that do the 30 Days of Christmas or something of that nature, where every day is like they show another holiday movie. I'm sure that this one shows up on some of those lists.
Yeah.
Along with the others, but I don't know. Like I always just watch it. Like I have my own copy that I just watch every year.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think I've gone through like 2 of them. But anyway, so let's take a look at that down at Cinema 12, and we're going to gather all the kids around. Matt, are you going to read Naughty Week to the youths of Recon Cinema Studio?
Yes, I'll read a passage. I'd be happy to.
Great.
Awesome.
All right, we'll spread the word. But Matt, tell everybody again, where can they pick up Naughty Week?
Naughty Week is available, on Amazon or anywhere you buy your books. Anywhere books are sold, you can get it in paperback or hardcover. You can also get the ebook if you got a Kindle, and you can download the audiobook. So it's available in all formats. And if you want to purchase it, you can go to Amazon or, like I said, anywhere you buy your books. And if you go to your library and ask them for it, they can get it for you.
Nice, great. Well, we're going to spread the word, and it was great having you on, Matt. It's been long overdue. Maybe you're going to have to just be our resident holiday expert.
Mm-hmm. I would love that. I had so much fun. I would love to do this again with you guys. And maybe I'll reach out when the next book in the series is ready, and we could do Halloween.
I love it.
Awesome.
We're working on our 2022 lineup right now, so we'll get you in there for sure.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And just one last note on a personal level. You guys started this podcast about 3 years ago. Is that right? And,
yeah, thereabouts.
Okay, and I just remember, I was sort of going through some stuff in my life, some personal stuff, and nothing tasted as good. Like I didn't like listening to music or even watching movies anymore. And I found out about this podcast and I started listening to it, and it really helped. Like, I'll give you guys, just a little gratitude here. It helped me reclaim that passion I had for movies. And for, like I said, I'll tell anybody, if you like movies, you should listen to this podcast because it's a lot of fun and it makes you want to just, jump in and join the conversation.
Well, thank you, sir.
That's awesome, Matt.
That
Thanks
means
a
a
lot.
lot.
Wow.
Thanks, guys. Wish you the best in 2022.
And
luck.
same to you, my friend. And happy holiday season to everybody listening. We appreciate all of you guys, and we hope you have a great holiday. A quick thank you to some of our other friends as well. Jay Blake Vachera with Scored to Death. Check out his podcast. Check out E.K. Wimmer, who does our theme music, and his show Laser Graves. And our good friend Curtis, who is doing all of our artwork, and we appreciate that every week. And guys, have a great holiday. We will see you on the next episode of ReconCinemation.
Take care.
Ho, ho, ho.
This is what Christmas is all about. I'll park the cars and check the luggage, and I'll be outside for the season.